first up is Notarize. So with Notarize, we've got David Berner, Strategic Planning Partnership Manager, as well as Andrew McDougall, the Editor-in-Chief. So thank you guys for presenting today. Thank you for engaging in TMC and the 12 days, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Tony. Hi, everyone. David Berner here with the Notarize team, also joined with Andrew. Really appreciate you all taking some time, maybe during your lunch break or your morning, to take a look at Notarize and learn more about our solution. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. The first thing I want to highlight here is just our partners in the TMC network here. If everyone can see the slide on the screen there. So Notarize has spent a lot of time and energy focused on making our solution more accessible to lenders in whatever fashion and technology stack that they see fit. So on the screen, you can see a couple of the folks that we work with here that are preferred partners in the TMC network. So First American, DocuTech, SimpleNexus, and SnapDocs. These are all great technology partners for your business as a mortgage lender, and also for us as Notarize, that we're working towards building integrations. So Ron, what we do, remote online notarization, can seamlessly exist at the end of the process there with whatever tools and technology stack that you're bringing to the table there. So we're going to continue to add to these suite of solutions as time goes on, but really want to highlight some of the folks that you can work with and get access to the Notarize technology immediately here. Before you go into the end of the year. So if you have a relationship with these three or are looking to, begin one, I'd certainly recommend reaching out to those folks directly. And again, as I mentioned, you can access Notarize through those partnerships. I'm happy to talk to you about how. So I'm going to go ahead and switch screens here. And what we'll do next is walk you through a live demonstration of what a signing looks like on the Notarize platform. So I've only got about 12 minutes here, now down to about 10. So we're going to move relatively quickly here. As a quick run of show, I'm going to play the part of the signer on the platform. So you can imagine that I'm a prospective home buyer on the day of closing, looking to wrap up my process here. And then my colleague Andrew is going to join here in just a moment to play the part of the notary once we join the session. So we'll show you from start to finish what that homeowner's experience will look like when they're signing documents on the Notarize platform. So hopping over to where the process will begin, it's always going to start with an email out to the signer. So I've been sent this from my title agent, ABC Title. They're letting me know that I've got documents to sign here. These documents are dated for today, December 14th. So as long as I get through that session before the clock ends at 11:59 tonight, I'm eligible to complete the transaction. At Notarize, we do have two options where our notaries can facilitate the transaction, meaning they can perform the signings for our title and lender partners 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And some of our title partners actually have the ability to use their notaries. If you think about a title agent in Texas, for example, they can bring their escrow officers to the platform to conduct that particular closing. So I've got a bit of instructions here about what to expect, just to prepare me for the signing, what I need to have ready to go in order to join that live audio video call there with Andrew, a checklist of the documents and technology devices that I'm going to need to have ready to go here in order to actually connect with the notary. I've also got a call out to my team that supported me up to this point with all the home buying process and can help me during the closing. So a fictitious title agent, real estate agent, and loan officer are all listed here. These folks can actually join the session and participate in audio video technology. So if you think about myself and Andrew interacting as the notary and signer, my title agent or loan officer, for example, could join to answer a question. And I can also bring them into the session via audio if I have a question there, for example, for my loan officer that I need to get answered immediately during that session. These folks also get email updates throughout the process. So if they're not able to actually join the call and participate in the closing, they'll have the certainty that everything was completed and signed on the platform once the session's finished up there. So this is the first time I've used this particular account. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the Notarize platform and create a secure password here. And then I'm taken to a landing page here that's going to have some more instructions here about what to expect in the process, what steps I need to take in order to connect with the notary and finish everything up there. Of course, once again, I have an insight into my contacts throughout the transaction. So if I had a question for Rebecca, I have her phone number and email address right there and can reach out to her and get a call or questions answered before the settlement there. So my next step is I'm actually going to have the opportunity to take a look at what I'm signing in the closing package. So we're just going to keep it easy today and do one document, a deed of trust here. Definitely don't have enough time to do a full closing here. And that deed of trust is actually permission that I can only sign it in the notary meeting. There is a document I'm going to sign in advance, which is just a standard e-sign consent form. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to agree to use electronic signatures. If you're using e-signature technology to now, you're pretty familiar with this part, right? I have to agree that this would be just as binding as a pen and ink signature would be for both my signatures and my initials. And those will be filled in there at the bottom of the page. If there are other non-critical documents or documents not requiring notarization that I needed to get signed in advance of the notarial session, I have the ability to do that here as well. Here's the document I'm actually going to be signing in the session. That's the deed of trust. You'll see that signature tag, though, that initial block at the bottom of page 1 is actually grayed out. And that, of course, means that I can only sign this when I get into the session with Andrew, which is our next step here when I click that join meeting button. So a couple things we're going to do in advance just to make sure that we have a smooth process here. I'm going to test the device's capabilities here on the Notarize platform. So I'm using my laptop. That's definitely what we recommend, but Notarize is optimized to be used on tablets and smartphones. I've also gone ahead and used the microphone. My headset it's picked up here as well for audio and video. It's also going to test the internet speed here as well. Now, it's letting me know I've got a weak connection, but I can rerun that test to make sure that I've got a strong connection. And if that becomes an issue, then we'll make sure to help out the signer as things progress there. So audio and video are all set. We do this, of course, if they were on a smartphone or a tablet as well. And looks like that internet connection is now ready to go here. The next step is what's called knowledge-based authentication. So this is one of two things that we do to verify the signer's identity before they actually begin the process. And one of the reasons that we view online notarization as actually safer and less susceptible to fraud. We put these technology-based processes in advance of the last step, which is Andrew as the notary, verifying my identity against my ID here. And again, making sure that the signer is indeed who they say they are. Now we're in a test environment today, so we do mark the correct answer here. Just make it a little bit easier on me. And as you saw, I'm using fictitious credentials here, but we mark the correct answer. I need to get 4 out of 5 of these questions correct here. You'll see I have 2 minutes to do so. And once I hit the submit button, it's going to let me know that I've successfully passed those challenge questions. When I hit continue, the next step, I mentioned there's 2 parts to this process, is actually going to be capturing a picture of my photo ID here. So we give the signers 2 options. They can use a smartphone or mobile device to capture an image here. We actually recommend that because typically the smartphone is going to have a better camera than a laptop. For the sake of the demo, though, I'm going to use just my web browser's camera to do so. So you'll see the types of identification that we support on the Notarize platform. Driver's license and passport are certainly the most common, but as you can see here, we do support some other types of IDs as well that you may not see every day. I'll use the driver's license and take a picture. Now, in our production environment, as I mentioned, we're in a test environment here today. We would obviously have the software turned on to where this business card would not work, but I would prefer to go ahead and just use this so I'm not blasting out all of my driver's license information here today. So as you can see from the process, it's going to prompt me to take a picture of the front and the back of the ID there. And once I've completed this, our software system is going to check the ID to make sure that it is a real and legitimate form of identification. So it's going to go ahead and pass me here with this obviously fictitious credential once again, because we're in the test environment, as you can see there. But in a real life production environment, we'll make sure that that's a real and legitimate ID. And of course, the first thing that Andrew's going to do as the notary once we get to the session here is take that picture of that ID and make sure I am indeed who I say I am. So now it's time to actually join the notary meeting. I'm going to go ahead and hit that join now button. It's going to move me into a call queue and let me know an approximate wait time, saying it should be pretty darn quick here, about 2 minutes here, as it connects me with the notary network. And now Andrew and I are going to join the call here. One quick housekeeping item, just so we don't have any bad audio feedback, is that Andrew and I are just going to use the Zoom call for audio. We usually don't do this, of course, in our live production environment in a video call within a video call. So we'll just continue to use the Zoom for audio like we are now. But Andrew, how are you?
Good. How are you, Bernie?
I'm doing well. I can hear you just fine. So just in the interest of time, since we're doing the lightning version, I'll abbreviate the part that Andrew would normally do here. So Andrew's checking my ID images. That's a hard stop for him. He has to make sure that that ID is matching up with my face and pass that credential analysis. Typically, Andrew would walk me through a part of the process where I would say, I agree to being recorded. I understand I'm using electronic signatures and I'm not being coerced to sign these particular documents. I'm going to hop right into it and use our batch sign feature since we're pressed for time here. So you'll see that it's copied my signature over from those initial disclosures. And when I hit the reuse button for my initials as well as the signature, it's going to apply all the signatures on this individual document, that deed of trust there. So as I scroll down, you'll see those initials and signatures have been applied. Now, this would only apply to the document that I'm reviewing at this time. So if I had my closing disclosure next and maybe, condo rider or something like that afterwards, I would not have signed those just yet. I can only sign those when I'm in front of the notary and when those documents are in front of me. And so, Andrew, now for the grand finale here.
Sure thing. I have a couple designations on my end that I can apply with just a single click, and then apply my seal as well. And again, I can make that larger or smaller to fit the dimensions of the document, so there's no risk of overlapping text or anything quite like that. I, in this example, am a notary in Virginia, and in Virginia, you also need to apply a disclosure. If I had not placed that disclosure, there would be an internal flag that let me know that as a Virginia notary, I do need to apply that disclosure for this to be a legal transaction. And without further ado, there are no other designations on this form to complete. I can actually lock this document and close up this meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. So Andrew's going to finish up the meeting here, and when the documents are ready to go, they're going to be pushed back to the signer. I also have the ability to rate his performance as a notary. This is information that we track and make available to our partners as well, just so they can track the customer satisfaction of the signing experience on the Notarize platform. And so as the signer, I've now got access to all of the documents I just signed in the session. And as I mentioned, these are pushed back to our business partners here in our production environment, utilizing one of those partnerships or one of the integrations that we've built. So coming in right at time, I'm going to go ahead and finish it up here. Really appreciate your all's attention here this afternoon. And, thanks so much. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Notarize. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. David, always stellar performance. Appreciate that. And Andrew, thank you for pinch hitting for him. Appreciate you being here as well. So, how do you guys add notaries? And I know you're working with title companies and all of those things. So how do you add those to your to the Notarize family?
Yeah, there's two different options. So notaries can join the Notarize network where they can essentially be assigned volume. And we do this not just for real estate, but also for non-real estate use cases. So if you think about those things that have ruined your lunch break in the past, where you have to go to the FedEx store, the UPS store, or something like that, find a notary, and it takes a while, right? So we have folks who join the platform. We all review their information and make sure that everything is compliant. That's a really key part of the process. Make sure they have everything that they need to be an online notary in the state in which they're acting as a public official before we add them to the platform to take those on-demand calls. A lot of our business partners as well, though, especially title, I'll use that as an example since it's most relevant to this audience. They really want to control that signing experience and have the escrow officers and staff that they know do a great job and protect those important realtor relationships, perform those closings. And that's an option in eligible states as well. They'd go through the same compliance review process, and then we'd add them to a title agent account where they'd have the ability to take calls that are initiated by both that title agent or, if a lender partner is sending them transactions, be able to send them volume as well and perform themselves as the notary. Andrew, not to put you on the spot, but anything you can add from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the important thing to highlight is that while they are two distinct offerings, they do work in concert with one another. So for example, if you found yourself double booked and maybe you had a meeting go too long, you would be able to default to our notary on demand service if you were comfortable with them completing the closing. So there is that kind of like fallback availability for a 24/7 available notary that has gone through the vetting process, and in the case of real estate transactions, has been on the platform for a relatively long time and has proven that they have both the customer experience that you would want out of your transaction and also the accuracy that you would need out of the transaction. So they do work in concert with one another for whatever your business might need.
Excellent. Well, thank you again so much, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for sponsoring 12 Days of TMC and engaging. Love Notarize and love whatever that you guys are doing to bring e-closing into the, whatever century we're in.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Great.